Of interest. Back with me now, David Gergen, Rebecca Berg, and Philip Bump. Before we get to the business, David, I want to talk about the alt-right. I want to ask you about this. Members of the alt-right, really a euphemism for white supremacists. I guess it's just their new name now. They've rebranded themselves. They've met up for a conference in Washington over the weekend. They lauded a Trump victory, all while spewing racist and anti-Semitic hate speech. Take a look at this.
Hail Trump! Hail our people! Hail victory!
Wow. So here's what the Trump team is saying about that. It says President-elect Trump has continued to denounce racism of any kind, and he was elected because he will be a leader for every American. To think otherwise is a complete misrepresentation of the movement that united Americans from all backgrounds. So my question is that specific enough in this statement? Shouldn't he be very clear what and who he is calling out here?
Of course it's not clear. Donald Trump is trying to have it both ways here, and I don't think he'll be successful. On one hand, he puts out statements denying there's any racism or any sexism or any of these other kind of things that we all find so abhorrent in his administration, and thank goodness we want presidents to do that. But on the other hand, he's appointed Steve Bannon as one of the two most powerful people in the White House, one of the most powerful people in Washington, whose previous company, well, he was executive chairman of it, and said of his company, that Breitbart, that it was the main platform for alt-right. And now here comes alt-right, and we see their true colors. They have this conference in Washington. It's overtly racist. It's overtly anti-Jewish. It's anti-Semitic. It's overtly against women, and it is overtly a white supremacist. They basically said this is a white nation. We're not going to lose it. We're going to reassert ourselves. And it says our motto has to be conquer or die. Yeah. Now, what kind of signal does that send to people of color? You know this, Don, much better than I do. What kind of signal does it send to Muslims, to women, to Jews, and everyone else? It's exactly the wrong signal, and yet he's trying to have it both ways. He says, oh, I don't have anything to do with racism, and yet I've got Steve Bannon right in my bosom of my White House. Now, you can't have it both ways on this issue. He has to be clear as incoming president, and I want him to succeed. I believe it's important. I've worked in the White House. I believe in the success of our presidents, but I also believe you've got to uphold certain norms and sort of set standards for the country that people can go to sleep at night without worrying about their best friend or their family member is going to be deported the next day or be treated harshly.
Clearly, Philip, his team and he are not that stupid to believe that this doesn't matter, that they're not trafficking in racism and bigotry by doing this.
Right. I mean,
are they trying to make us believe something that is...
I think that Bannon is a good encapsulation of this issue for precisely the reasons that David just articulated, which is that Bannon tries to distance himself from the fact that he called Breitbart a platform for the alt-right by saying, I was a platform and or I was reporting on what the alt-right was doing.
But I'm not of that.
Exactly. And to some extent, Trump's trying to do the same thing, right? He is trying to have folks who are enthusiastic supporters of his and not slap them on the hand too hard, still have them be part of what it is that he's doing. And it's just, you know, that statement is so weak. This is from a guy who spent months railing against Hillary Clinton for not saying radical Islamic terrorism in that phrase exactly, can't come out and say, you know, those racist Nazis that were just in D.C., that's not me, stay away from me, that's not what I'm about.
And it may not matter that he is insulting to people of color, Rebecca, considering the number of people of color who actually voted for him, about 7%.
Well, it does matter, though, Don, of course, because this isn't about just who supported Donald Trump, but now
I'm saying maybe in his mind or maybe in the transition team's mind, but I think you're right about your first part of your statement. Go on.
Well, right, yeah, and so this isn't, even for them, I think in their minds, they're thinking, moving forward, this really is about everyone, and so they're keeping their base happy is obviously important, but also making sure that the needs of all Americans are served, and if we're going to, this is what they've said they will do if we're going to take them at their word. But so far, Philip and David, I think, are exactly right. They're not addressing this head on. But I would just make the point that, you know, we are giving this outsized attention right now in the media, these few incidents with neo-Nazis, with white nationalists. But this is still a very small share of Trump's supporters. And I think that's an important point to make, because certainly we haven't expected Barack Obama to come out as president every time one of his supporters says something hateful and address that. And I'm not sure that we can expect that of President-elect Trump every time a room of a few dozen people says something hateful like this.
David, is there parity here between those two things?
Listen. I respect what Rebecca said, most of what she said, but the fact is that Mr. Bannon represents and has sent out a lot of signals to people as someone you should be scared of, as someone who supports policies that are going to represent this administration, that's going to be very harsh on Muslims, that's going to withdraw basically support for social justice in a criminal system. It's going to downgrade that it's going to go after people in various ways. I have people crying in my classroom. I have people who are, grieving about what's happened, but mostly they're scared. They're scared for their families. They don't know what this means. And I'm sorry, when the alt-right is taken as seriously as it is, and we begin to normalize this conversation to say it's all right to do neo-Nazi kind of rhetoric, and we're just going to accept it. It's just part of who we are as Americans. No, it is not all right to be neo-Nazi in this country. And if we're going to raise those specters, let's remember when people didn't rise up against the Nazis when they were in their midst. And if it is not right, and the president himself has to be the standard bearer of this, he has to be seen as a president of all the people. But that's what we want. And I think we can support Mr. Trump in a lot of what he does, but he has to be embracive and inclusive.
But at the same time, you also don't want to give unnecessary oxygen to some of this hateful rhetoric, and there is the potential to do that.
It's Breitbart that gave them the unnecessary oxygen. Breitbart was the one that helped and gave them the platform. That's what Mr. Bannon said.